Gallery manager refuses to serve black customers until the owner walks in and calls them family. They weren't used to hearing the word family in a place like this. Not when a keep out look was all the greeting they ever got. The windows of Eclat Gallery were floor to ceiling, the kind of glass so clean it disappeared. The kind of gallery where white walls whispered in hushed tones and paintings hung like they knew their worth. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, a black family of 4 stood outside. Father in a sharp navy suit, mother in an emerald dress, 2 teenage kids in crisp uniforms. Even their umbrella looked expensive. Inside, Olivia Turner watched from the front desk. Gallery manager for the past 3 years. She prided herself on knowing her clientele before they even spoke. And these? Not her clientele. Her jaw tightened as the family pushed open the glass door. The rain followed them in as mist on their shoulders, but they stepped confidently onto the polished floor, as if they owned the place. "Good afternoon," the father said with a low, deliberate calm. "We're interested in the Klein collection." Olivia stood, smiled tightly, felt her heartbeat notch up. "I'm afraid the gallery is currently closed for a private event," she lied, glancing past them toward the empty room. "Perhaps you could return another time." The mother raised an eyebrow. "Your website says open until 6. Olivia's hand twitched toward her tablet. "Website isn't always up to date." Silence, the kind that stretches like wet paint. Then the daughter, barely 16, spoke. "Is it closed for us?" Olivia didn't answer that. Instead, she stepped around the desk. Her heels clicked too loud on the marble. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Her voice held that practiced tone, professional, final. The family exchanged glances. And in that moment, Olivia felt a ripple of shame she couldn't name. But she buried it. Policy was policy. This wasn't about race, she told herself. It was about the look. The way they didn't belong here. Except they did belong. More than she would know. Because as the family stood there, poised between leaving and protesting, a voice echoed from the back hallway. "Olivia!" It was a man's voice, warm, deliberate. A figure stepped into view. Tall, silver-haired, wearing a charcoal suit that cost more than Olivia's salary. Marcus Lane, owner of Eclat Gallery, founder, art world royalty. And when Marcus saw the family, his face lit up in a way Olivia had never seen. "Family!" he called, arms spreading as he crossed the floor. Olivia's throat went dry. The father broke into a smile. "Uncle Marcus." And then they were hugging. All of them, Marcus pulling them in close, the rain still shimmering on their clothes, and Olivia standing frozen like a sculpture watching everything she thought she knew about her gallery collapse. Marcus turned to her finally, his arm still around the teenage boy's shoulder. "Olivia, have you met my family?" There was no place to hide. I wasn't aware," Olivia stammered. Marcus's gaze softened but didn't let her off the hook. "Well, now you are. This is my sister's son, his wife, and their beautiful kids." Olivia's mind spun. The father she'd just turned away was blood to Marcus Lane. The gallery owner turned back to the family. "Come, let me show you the Klein pieces myself." And just like that, they walked past Olivia not with anger, but with the quiet weight of dignity. She remained by the front desk, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped the tablet she no longer needed. Rain streaked the windows again. But inside, something else had shifted. Something harder to clean than glass. Olivia didn't return to her desk immediately. She stood frozen, eyes fixed on the empty threshold where Marcus and his family had disappeared into the gallery's heart. Her mind replayed every word she'd spoken, every forced smile and clipped sentence. And beneath it all, that sick weight in her gut. There were cameras in the gallery. She knew that. Always had. High definition, discreetly tucked into ceiling corners, streaming to the back office. Marcus would see. Maybe he already had. She had treated his family like strangers. Worse, her pulse wouldn't slow down. 5 minutes passed. 10. The only sound was rain ticking against the windows. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Come to the West Wing. Bring the guest book." It wasn't phrased as a reprimand. No harsh words, but Olivia felt them all the same. She smoothed her blazer with trembling fingers and picked up the heavy leather guest book from the desk. Her heels echoed too loud again as she crossed the gallery floor, each step slower than the last. The West Wing was reserved for private collections, the more intimate viewing rooms where top-tier clients negotiated million-dollar purchases behind closed doors. When Olivia entered, the family was gathered around Marcus. The father stood with one hand on a tall pedestal, studying a sculpture under soft light. The mother ran gentle fingers along a canvas's gilded frame. The teenagers leaned in close to a modern piece made entirely of shattered mirrors, their reflections fracturing with each movement. And Marcus, he didn't look like a gallery owner right now. He looked like an uncle showing nieces and nephews the legacy he'd built. Olivia cleared her throat softly. Marcus glanced up. "Ah, Olivia." He gestured for her to approach. "We'll need the book signed." She stepped closer, offering the guest book with both hands like it was something sacred. The father accepted it with a nod, no trace of the earlier tension in his face. But Olivia wasn't sure if that made it better or worse. As he signed, Marcus spoke quietly. "Olivia, I want to introduce you properly. This is Aaron Bennett, his wife, Camille, their children, Asha and Devin." Olivia opened her mouth, tried to find a smile that didn't feel hollow. "It's an honor to meet you all," she said, voice low. "Truly." Camille's gaze met hers, steady, unreadable. "I'm sure it is." No sharpness in the words, just fact. The boy, Devin, barely glanced at Olivia before returning to the mirror sculpture. His sister, Asha, tilted her head thoughtfully. "Do you like working here?" the girl asked. Her voice was gentle, curious. Olivia blinked. "Yes, very much. Even with people like us walking in?" Her stomach clenched again. Marcus's voice cut in smoothly, but not sharply. "Asha, that's enough." The girl only shrugged, running a finger along the glass. Her reflection shimmered and fractured with each pass. Aaron closed the guest book, handing it back to Olivia. "Thank you," he said quietly, and for the first time, there was weight in his tone that wasn't about business or art. Said, "You see me now. You see all of us." Marcus turned back to his family. "Shall we see the new acquisitions?" They moved deeper into the gallery, leaving Olivia standing alone again with the book pressed to her chest. Her face burned. She wanted to disappear. Instead, she forced herself back toward the front desk. Her heels no longer echoed. Somehow, everything felt quieter. Once behind the desk, she opened the guest book, scanning the name Aaron Bennett as if it were proof of something larger. That name would now be part of Eclos's history, written in the same leather-bound ledger as ambassadors, celebrities, collectors from Paris and Tokyo. For a moment, Olivia simply stared at it. Then she closed the book carefully and placed it back on the shelf. Her reflection caught in the glass door as she did, and for the first time she didn't entirely recognize herself. Later that evening, after the gallery had officially closed and the last lights dimmed, Marcus asked Olivia to join him in his office. She didn't refuse. The room smelled faintly of cedar and leather, his signature cologne, and the shelves of art history books lining the walls. Marcus stood by the window, looking out over the city skyline, his hands tucked into his pockets. For a long time he said nothing. Then, "I hired you because I believed you could see value where others didn't." Olivia swallowed. "I know." He turned. His expression was calm, but there was a weight behind it that pinned her to the floor. "What happened today?" "I was wrong." Olivia cut in before she could lose the nerve. Her voice trembled slightly. "I made assumptions. I treated your family like—" Marcus waited. "Like they didn't belong," she finished quietly. Silence stretched again. Then Marcus nodded. "Yes, you did." Olivia's throat tightened. "I'm not here to shame you, Olivia," Marcus said finally. "But I need you to understand. This gallery isn't just for the rich, or the white, or the expected." He stepped closer now, voice low but firm. "It's for those who create, And for those who dare to walk through the door believing they have a place here. She met his gaze. I understand, she said. And this time she meant it. Good. Marcus exhaled slowly, as if letting something go. Take tomorrow off. Reflect. When you come back, I expect a better version of you. Olivia nodded once. Thank you, sir. And as she stepped out of his office into the darkened gallery, she felt lighter and heavier all at once. Because knowing better wasn't the same as being better. But it was where it started. The next morning, Olivia didn't sleep in. She could have. Marcus had given her the day off. But by 7:30, she found herself in front of the mirror, adjusting her blazer and looking at her own reflection like it was a test. What did she expect to see? Someone new? No. What she saw was herself and all the quiet mistakes she'd never had to answer for until now. Instead of heading to a claw gallery, Olivia walked the streets of the city. It wasn't the polished downtown neighborhood where the gallery sat. She wandered farther east, where murals covered entire walls, painted by unknown artists for no money and no glory. A massive one caught her eye, a black woman holding a paintbrush that dripped with gold. Behind her, instead of hair, her head was crowned with patterned spirals, stars, and fractured mirror shards that looked too familiar now. Beneath it, in tall white lettering, "We belong here." Olivia stood staring at it until her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from her younger sister, Leah. Hey Liv, you free tonight? Family dinner at Mom's. Been a while. Funny. It really had been. Olivia had been so wrapped up in work lately, chasing promotions, managing clients, keeping the gallery's image pristine. She hadn't thought much about her own family. And if she was honest, her family dinners weren't exactly diverse either. Her thumb hovered over the reply button. I'll be there. She hit send, exhaling like she'd just made a bigger decision than she really had. By the time Olivia returned to Eclat the next morning, something felt different. The gallery itself hadn't changed. The white walls still stretched wide and silent. The scent of polished marble and faint paint hung in the air. But Olivia noticed things she hadn't before. A group of school kids were touring with a guide, a mix of faces, light and dark, chatter echoing through the hallways. And at the front desk, a young assistant she'd barely spoken to before, a black woman named Riley, was answering questions with a calm patience Olivia envied. Olivia approached slowly. Morning, she said. Riley looked up, a little cautious. Morning. Olivia hesitated, then said quietly, I owe you an apology. Riley blinked, eyebrows lifting. For what? For not paying attention before, Olivia said honestly. For not really seeing things the way I should have. I'm trying to be better. Riley studied her a moment longer, then gave a small, quiet smile. Good. We all have to start somewhere. A week passed, then another. And while Olivia didn't erase her mistakes overnight, she showed up differently. It wasn't grand gestures, not fake apologies to Marcus's family. They didn't need her to say the words, they'd seen who she was already. Instead, she changed in the small things. When a pair of teenagers walked in wearing hoodies instead of suits, Olivia didn't dismiss them. She offered to show them the latest pieces. When an older black couple wandered slowly through the exhibits, looking slightly unsure, she approached with a kind smile, not one hiding judgment. It wasn't about trying to fix everything. It was about not being the problem anymore. One afternoon, Marcus called her into his office again. There was no preamble this time. He simply gestured to a chair and waited until she sat down. I've been watching, he said. Olivia's heart thumped once. Am I? Doing better, Marcus finished for her. She let out a quiet breath. Thank you. He leaned back in his chair, studying her carefully. I know what happened that day wasn't about hatred, he said slowly. But it was about something just as dangerous. Olivia met his gaze. Blindness. Marcus nodded. It sneaks up on people like us, people in certain circles, certain zip codes. We think we're past it until we're not. Silence again, but not heavy. Then Marcus opened a folder on his desk. Inside was a set of printed photographs. Gallery spaces. Renovation plans. I'm opening a new wing, he said. In the East District. Smaller gallery. Focused on emerging artists from underrepresented backgrounds. Olivia leaned in, eyes scanning the papers. It's beautiful, she murmured. I want you to help me run it, Marcus said simply. Her head snapped up. Me? He smiled, just slightly. You've earned the chance, and I think you'll do it right this time. Olivia swallowed the lump in her throat. I won't let you down. I know. The grand opening of the new wing was 6 months later. The Bennett family was there again, standing near the entrance with quiet pride. Olivia saw them before they saw her, but this time, she didn't hesitate. She approached them directly. Mr. Bennett, she greeted. Camille, Asha, Devin. The family turned, surprise flickering briefly across their faces. But Aaron smiled first. Olivia, he said. Nice to see you again. Camille gave a nod of acknowledgement. Even the teenagers didn't look quite so guarded this time. Olivia smiled, not forced. Real. I'm glad you came. I hope you'll find something you love tonight. Aaron's eyes softened. We already have. And together, they stepped into the gallery, this new space that Olivia had helped build, not with marble and glass, but with the hardest thing of all to change, herself. The new gallery wing soon gained a name in the city. The Bennett Wing. It wasn't officially titled that on paper, but people said it quietly out of respect, out of memory. The name traveled from word of mouth, from news articles to quiet conversations at dinner parties. Have you seen the Bennett Wing? You know why Marcus Lane built it, don't you? What started as one painful afternoon in a class main hall became something larger, something lasting. But for Olivia, the real work wasn't just opening nights or press coverage. It was every quiet morning after, checking every painting, every label, making sure artists were properly credited, making sure no one walking through those doors ever felt invisible again. She watched a lot more than she spoke now. She listened. One Friday evening, as the sun poured orange light through the tall windows, a young black artist named Jalen set up his first solo exhibit. Jalen was barely 23, nervous, hands shaking slightly as he adjusted the angle of his canvases. Olivia stayed nearby, clipboard in hand, offering small suggestions but mostly just being there. When Jalen finally stepped back to survey his work, his eyes were bright. My mom never thought this would happen, he admitted quietly. Olivia smiled. She knows now. Jalen nodded once, voice tightening with emotion. She's outside, too nervous to come in yet. Bring her in, Olivia said gently. This place is hers as much as yours. Jalen hesitated, then walked toward the doors. As he did, Marcus approached Olivia from the other side of the room. You've grown, he said without preamble. Olivia glanced at him with a wry smile. Older, wiser. They stood side by side, watching as Jalen returned with his moth-era woman in a simple dress, eyes wide with both pride and disbelief. Together, mother and son stepped into the gallery's heart. Marcus spoke again, voice low. You know, there were people who told me opening this wing was a mistake. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Really? Old clients, investors, said it wasn't worth the risk, said it might damage a class brand. She folded her arms loosely. And what do you say now? Marcus smiled, a slow, steady thing. I say, if a brand can't stand for something bigger than itself, it doesn't deserve to stand at all. They stood in silence after that, watching as more visitors arrived. A woman in a hijab, a man with tattoos climbing up his neck, a group of art students scribbling notes and snapping photos. Different faces, different stories, all belonging. Later that night, as the last guests filtered out and the gallery lights dimmed to their evening glow, Olivia took one last slow walk through the Bennett Wing. The walls felt warm somehow, not from heat, but from memory, from the weight of every person who'd passed through, leaving behind something invisible yet real. She stopped in front of the final piece in the exhibit. A new painting, bright colors, broad strokes. At the bottom corner, by Asha Bennett, The teenage girl from that first day. Now 17. Now an artist in her own right. Her painting was abstract flashes of green, gold, and dark blue swirling together like wind and sky. A small placard read, "We belong here," the same words Olivia had seen on that mural months ago. She felt her throat tighten. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to just feel it. Not guilt, not shame, something deeper, the quiet weight of understanding. Outside the gallery, rain had begun to fall again, light and steady. Olivia stepped into it without opening an umbrella. The city shimmered pavement glistening under streetlights, cars passing slow like quiet shadows. As she stood there, the front doors opened behind her. Aaron Bennett stepped out. For a moment, they just stood together, neither speaking. Then Aaron said softly, "You really changed things." Olivia didn't turn to look at him right away. She kept her gaze on the wet streets, the reflections in the puddles. "I had help," she said quietly. Aaron's voice carried a note of something rare now, not just politeness, but real warmth. "We all do," he agreed. Then he offered his hand. It wasn't a handshake like the first time, stiff, cautious. This was open, steady. Olivia took it. Their palms met two people who, months before, might never have seen each other beyond old habits and quiet walls. Now there was no desk between them, no silent judgment, only that shared moment in the rain. And through the glass behind them, Eclat Gallery glowed, not as a place where some were allowed and others were turned away, but as a place where art and the people who carried it fully belonged. ND